There have been two topics that you guys have enjoyed the most on the channel, the Miami Heat and the James Harden saga, and now we actually get to combine both of them into one video because there might be a massive deal about to go down, sending James Harden to the Miami Heat in exchange for Tyler Herro and company going to Houston. There are multiple signs of this trade going down, so I would suggest watching this whole video so you know what to expect soon. But let's just get right into this potential trade and the fact that if the Heat pull it off, it could be one of the biggest finesses in recent league history. But real quick, if you guys have been enjoying the content or end up enjoying this video, it would be greatly appreciated if you subscribed if you're new and join the Woods crew. We're out here posting 5 certified bangers a week, and let me just say, you will not want to miss it. Also, leaving a like on this video would be absolutely clutch because it lets YouTube know this video is fire and shares it with more people, which helps the Woods crew grow. Now let's just get right into everything going on with the Miami Heat and James Harden, because there have been a lot of updates since I last discussed either of these topics with you guys. A few days ago, James Harden reiterated the fact that he wanted to get traded and added the Miami Heat and Milwaukee Bucks to his trade preference list, along with the 76ers and Nets. Now I know many people think that Harden is equally likely to be traded to any of these 4 teams, but it is actually looking like all the other teams besides the Heat have lost interest in acquiring Harden, because the Rockets just want so much for him in return. And rightly so. I mean, just look at the Nets and 76ers. The Rockets made it clear to the Nets that they would not trade James Harden to them unless they got Kyrie or Kevin Durant in return. And for the 76ers, the Rockets recently said that they want Ben Simmons and 3 first-round picks at minimum for the beard. And Daryl Morey already made it clear that Ben Simmons is not leaving the team. This leads many people to believe that the Sixers and Nets are out of the running for James Harden, because what they would have to give up is just too much of a risk for a player that has been somewhat of a liability lately in James Harden. So this leaves us with the Bucks and the Heat, the 2 teams that have the best shot at James Harden right now. I find it very interesting that Giannis Antetokounmpo ended up signing his supermax, because the Bucks did not do much to put them in contention more than they did last year. I'm not trying to throw shade at Jrue Holiday. He is an amazing two-way guard, but is he really going to put the Bucks over the hump and allow them to win a chip? Doubtful to say the least. So is it possible that the Bucks executives verbally told Giannis they were making a push to get James Harden and convinced him to stay in Milwaukee? Maybe. Or Giannis just wanted to stay loyal like the true greats in the history of the NBA. But the Bucks haven't even come out and said that they are interested in acquiring Harden. So that just leaves us with the Heat right now, who it was recently reported they have mutual interest in James Harden and are already talking about packages. So let's just get right into how the Miami Heat could pull off this trade and finesse the Rockets, or get finessed. When the trade talks with the Heat and Rockets first came up, the Heat said that Tyler Herro was off the table for trades, as well as the obvious Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. But this is where I believe Pat Riley is playing the finesse game, because as much as I like Tyler Herro, could we see him becoming as good as MVP Harden soon? I doubt it. But the Heat, on the other hand, are acting like Tyler Herro is an MVP type player they need to hold on to for a reason. To bait the Rockets into trading Harden for Herro and making the Heat championship favorites for 2021. I 100% believe that the Heat are just playing hard to get with Tyler Herro, but will definitely trade him for Harden if the Rockets give them an offer, because the Heat's #1 target they were hoping to land just signed the supermax, and I don't think there is any better second option than James Harden in his prime, even though it is his late prime. There have been many packages that would send Harden to the Heat floating around the NBA rumors, but I wanted to share with you guys the best option that the Heat and Rockets would more than likely both accept. So what kind of trade package could the Heat put together for a 31-year-old James Harden? For starters, the Miami Heat would need to put together roughly $33 million in salaries for the Harden trade to even be legal. That would mean a Miami trade package for Harden would at least have to include Kelly Olynyk, who makes $13.6 million this season, and Andre Iguodala, who makes $15 million, whose combined salaries add up to $28.6 million. Neither of these contracts are team friendly, but there's one reason that Houston might not be opposed to taking them on, and that's because both of these players have expiring deals, which gives the Houston Rockets some flexibility come next offseason. Kelly Olynyk's contract expires after 2021, while Iguodala has a team option on the final year of his deal, 2021-2022. One that definitely will not be picked up because he will be 37 years old next season. But either way, the Miami Heat would need to add a whole lot more to their offer if they wanted to bait the Rockets into this trade. The next piece that is honestly just pretty obvious at this point, I know it's disappointing for Heat fans, but Tyler Herro. Herro is set to earn just $3.8 million next season and is under contract through 2023-2024 at a very high value price, and has already shown glimpses of all-star potential during his first season in Miami, making him the exact kind of player the Rockets are targeting in the potential Harden deal. And considering the untouchable status of Adebayo, Herro is pretty much the best piece the Heat can offer to Houston, so it's extremely unlikely that the Rockets would accept any other offer from Miami that doesn't include Tyler Herro. But the salaries of Herro, Iguodala, and Olynyk only add up to be $32.4 million, just short of the $33 million needed for it to be legal. This is where the Heat could either finesse the Rockets or give up too much. If the Rockets like this deal and the talent, the Heat could potentially just use a cap filler player and really only lose Tyler Herro. But if the Rockets want more, like they probably will, the Heat would more than likely have to include Duncan Robinson or Kendrick Nunn, which could be way too much for the Heat, but you are getting James Harden in return. Now, the Heat just recently stated last night that they are not including Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson together to the Rockets, so it would more than likely be Kendrick Nunn. But the question is, would the Rockets accept any offer from Miami that doesn't include Herro and Nunn? Probably not, depending on the types of offers they're getting from other teams. Regardless, a package of Herro, Nunn, Iguodala, and Olynyk is a pretty good starting point as far as Harden talks go. And then, there's also draft capital to talk about for this trade. Houston absolutely wants a treasure trove of draft assets in any potential Harden deal. Something the Heat would struggle to do considering all their outgoing commitments they already have on their future first-round picks, which are pretty complicated, and I think we'll just leave it at that. But realistically, to sum it up, the best package the Miami Heat can present to the Rockets in a Harden trade is looking like Herro, Nunn, Iguodala, Olynyk, a 2025 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, as well as a 2022 pick swap, 2024 pick swap, and 2026 pick swap. So basically, if the Heat are able to part with just Herro and picks, in my eyes, that would be a steal for Harden. But if they have to include other talents, such as Duncan Robinson or Kendrick Nunn, I'd say break even. The fact is, it's hard to know with this trade just like any other because of the sheer fact that we don't know what Tyler Herro or Kendrick Nunn will develop into. But what we do know is what James Harden is capable of, which is why I believe the Heat will be making a splash for him soon. You know what? Let's actually just roll this clip because it is undoubtedly the most interesting and controversial interview I have heard in a while, when James Harden was asked about getting traded.
Do you still want the Rockets to trade you? And if so, why?
Right now, I'm just focused on being here. Today was good. Yesterday felt really good being out there. The first time since the bubble. Hadn't really had an opportunity to do a lot of 5-on-5 work, but for my first time being out there, I think I felt pretty good. So.
James, what was the point that you were trying to get across when you went to Atlanta and Vegas when training camp was starting?
I was just training.
What were you training for?
Started the NBA season.
How did going to Atlanta and Vegas help you there when the Rockets were starting training camp in Houston?
Just my personal trainers.
You mentioned that right now your focus is on where you are right there. Had you during the off season, or can you explain kind of what your thinking was in either asking to be traded elsewhere or indicating that that would be your preference?
I can only focus on right now. And for me, the best James Harden is, making sure I'm in shape. Like I said, I hadn't really had an opportunity to play 5-on-5. Individual workouts, weightlifting, individual basketball training is great, but as every NBA player can agree, there's nothing like 5-on-5 training, the physicality, making reads and things like that. So yesterday, for my first time being out there, I felt good, and it was exciting.
At this point, it just looks like Harden is avoiding the question as well as fines because of the fact that he said he was training in Nevada, but we all know what he was actually doing. But that isn't the only thing that has been revealed about James Harden recently. An anonymous member of the Houston Rockets staff said that if the team ever had a couple days off, James Harden would not practice with the team and instead party in Vegas, but he would always come back and have a 50-point triple-double, so no one really cared. Not only do I find this kind of funny because I am not very surprised, but a little concerning. Will the Heat really trade for someone like this with the culture they've established as a team and with players like Jimmy Butler? You'd think no, but there's even more evidence pointing to the Harden trade than we may think, because Jimmy Butler himself gave a little clue at the fact that he favors a blockbuster trade sending Harden to the Heat when he liked an Instagram post that had the Heat as a frontrunner. When Jimmy was asked about why he liked this post, he just said that James Harden is a good friend of his and he just wants him to be happy, as well as he likes his hair. But if you read that Jimmy said this, you would not have picked up on the fact that Jimmy Butler was saying all this with a grin on his face. This grin, implying that he obviously liked it for another reason. The Heat recently said that they value Jimmy the most on the team because of what he did coming in and helping the young guys. So I think it's safe to say that if Jimmy wanted a Harden trade to go down, the Heat would do it in a heartbeat. But most of it is just speculation, because after all, in the same interview, Jimmy Butler also stated that he likes what the Heat have right now and think they can win a chip next year. To say the least, it will be very interesting to see how this James Harden and Heat situation plays out, because if Harden goes to the beach, you best believe they're winning a chip. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me just say I am absolutely hyped to watch Tyler Herro play no matter where he goes, because he is one of the brightest young stars in the league. If you did enjoy this one, I post 5 videos a week that are all bangers just like this one, so I would highly recommend subscribing if you're new and joining the Woods crew. Leaving a like below would also be clutch as well, but regardless, I appreciate all you guys watching the videos no matter what. Next video, we will be diving deeper into the Giannis Antetokounmpo supermax extension and the harsh truth that it tells us. But until then, you guys just stay tuned. I'll catch you all in the next one. Woods out. Help us get to 1K today by subscribing below and joining the Woods crew.